Yo, chat. Just got done playing some fantastic basketball. Just before that, I was not playing the gym. I was in the gym. So let's just say I was not shooting the best the very first half of the games, but then the last couple games I came in clutch. So got some points on the board. Pretty pleased about that. Without further ado, let's get into it. Young Gonsalos went to Mr. Armor's office, and the $1 million was presented to him. With the money, he founded the Armor's Institute of Technology. That is more money than a majority of preachers ever see in an entire lifetime. Yet the thought impulse behind the money was created to the young preacher's mind in a fraction of a minute. The necessary $1 million came as a result of an idea. Behind the idea was the desire that young Gonsalos had been nurturing in his mind for almost 2 years. Observe this important fact. He got the money within 36 hours of reaching a defined decision in his own mind to get it and deciding upon the defined plan for getting it. There was nothing new or unique about young Gonzalo's vague thinking about $1 million and weakly hoping for it. Others before him and many since his time have had similar thoughts, but there was something unique and different about the decision he reached on that memorable Saturday when he put vagueness into the background and definitely said, "I will get that money within a week." God seems to throw himself on the side of people who know exactly what they want if they are determined to get just that. Moreover, the principle through which Dr. Gonzalez got his $1 million is still alive. It is available to you. This universal law is as workable today as it was when the young preachers made use of it so successfully. This book describes step by step the 13 elements of this great law and suggests how they may be put to use. Observe that Asa Candler and Dr. Frank Gonzalez had one characteristic in common. Both knew the astonishing truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of defined purpose plus defined plans. If you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty along with being honestly alone will bring riches, perish the thought. It is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are ever the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to defined demands based upon the application of defined principles and not by chance or luck. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels action by appeal to the imagination. All master sales reps know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Ordinary sales reps do not know this. This is why they are ordinary. A publisher of books made a discovery that should be worth much to publishers generally. He learned that many people buy titles and not contents of books. By merely changing the name of one book that was not moving, his sales on that book jumped upwards more than 1 million copies. The inside of the book was not changed in any way. He merely ripped off the cover bearing the title that did not sell and put on a new cover with a title that had a box office value. That is as simple as it may seem was an idea. It was imagination. There is no standard price on ideas. Creators of ideas make their own price, and if they are smart, they get it. The moving picture industry created a whole flock of millionaires. Most of them were men who couldn't create ideas, but they had the imagination to recognize ideas when they saw them. Andrew Carnegie knew very little about making steel. I know Carnegie's own word for this, but he had made practical use of 2 of the principles described in this book and made the steel business yield him a fortune. The story of practicality, every great fortune starts with a day when a creator of ideas and a seller of ideas get together and worked in harmony. Carnegie surrounded himself with experts who could do all that he could not do, people who created ideas and men who put ideas into operation and made themselves and others fabulously rich. Millions of people go through life hoping for favorable breaks. Perhaps a favorable break can get one an opportunity, but the safest plan is not dependable upon luck. It was a favorable break that gave him the greatest opportunity of my life, but 25 years of determined effort had to be devoted to that opportunity before it became an asset. The break consisted of my good fortune in meeting and gaining the cooperation of Andrew Carnegie. On that occasion, Carnegie planted in my mind the idea of organizing the principles of achievement into a philosophy of success. Thousands of people have profited by the discoveries made in the 25 years of research, and several fortunes have been accumulated through the application of the philosophy. The beginning was simple. It was an idea that anyone might have developed. The favorable break came through Carnegie, but what about the determination, definiteness of purpose, the desire to obtain the goal, and the persistent effort of 25 years? It was no ordinary desire that survived disappointment, discouraged, temporary defeat, criticism, and the constant accusation of waste of time. It was a burning desire and obsession. When Mr. Carnegie first planted the idea in my mind, it was coaxed, nursed, incited to remain alive. Gradually, the idea became a giant under its own power, and it coaxed, nursed, and drove me. Ideas are like that. First, you get life, action, and guidance to ideas, and they take on a power of their own and sweep aside all opposition. Like Andrew Carnegie, Herb Kelleher, one of the founders of Southwest Airlines, is a good example of a seller of ideas. He was a lawyer in San Antonio, Texas, when Roland King, the creator of an idea, asked for his help in founding a new airline. Roland King was an investment advisor. As a side business, he ran an unprofitable air charter service between small Texas cities. At that time, most Americans who traveled by air were business executives or wealthy pleasure seekers. King was frustrated when he wanted to fly from one city to Texas to another. He could never get a seat on the airlines that currently flew those routes, and besides, prices were too high. He recognized the need to create an airline that would fly just between the three biggest cities in the state. King knew his little airline wasn't up to the task as he decided to start one. He put together a feasible study and business plan. He raised $100,000 and then went to Herb Kelleher, his lawyer, to arrange for the necessary paperwork to create Airline Southwest Co., later Southwest Airlines Co. Sorry, apparently I can't switch pages. Although Kelleher was at first skeptical, he worked with King to gain additional capital and some political support. On February 20, 1968, the Texas Aeronautics Commission approved Southwest's petition to fly between the three cities. However, on February 21st, competing airlines Brand If, Trans Texas, and Continental blocked the approval with a temporary restraining order. Kelleher's, his enthusiasm for the airline ignited by the efforts to quash it, put his legislation skills to work. The competition argued that Texas didn't need a new carrier. It took a 3.5-year legal battle, including 3 trips to 3 courts, for Southwest to approve otherwise and gain the necessary permission to start operating. Although they made a good start, it wasn't enough. The company lost $3.7 million that year, and the losses continued for another year and a half. Southwest was trying to keep costs down and attract customers without compromising its original goals. By this time, Kelleher had become so enthralled with the concept that he gave up his law practice to run Southwest. His aim was to make Southwest the airline of choice in the market it served. One of his innovations was peak and off-peak airline pricing. Another was the 10-minute turnaround. After landing, each plane would pull into the gate, get checked by maintenance, unload passengers, reload, and leave the gate within 10 minutes instead of the 45 minutes other airlines took. The 10-minute turnaround allowed 3 plane airlines to maintain a busy schedule and improve its on-time performance. Because of their very limited budget, they couldn't advertise in the usual media, so they chose to promote the airline by word of mouth. To do this, this company decided to cultivate a sensational, off-the-wall image. Customer service became their top priority. Flight attendants were trained to give tender love care to the passengers. The company's slogan was, "Now there's somebody else up there who loves you." In addition, Kelleher eliminated the annoying time-consuming methods the major airlines use in issuing boarding passes by creating open seating in all flights. No seat reservations were needed, and passengers were given numbered boarding cards where each Each were issued and collected at the gate. With passenger satisfaction as their main objective, Keller and his team built up a loyal following and a reputation for passenger consideration. Southwest began to climb its way up. By 1978, it was one of the country's most profitable airlines. In the early 2000s, when many airlines suffered major setbacks, some going into bankruptcy and even out of business, Southwest not only survived but led the industry in profitability. Herb Keller gives this advice to success-minded people. Stick to your ideas. Despite the efforts of its giant competitors to keep Southwest from entering the business, a positive attitude kept them going during the 3 years of court fights and no operating income. Think of what the customers want and then give it to them. Overcome obstacles put in your path by taking positive steps to break them down. Even while the battle is being fought, find ways to get around them. Keep open to new opportunities, and when they arise, take positive steps to meet them. Success requires no explanation. Failure permits no alibis. And that is chapter 6. I mean, what a good way to end off the chapter, referencing the story about Southwest Airlines, something that I've never really heard of. But I really want to touch on the idea that he mentioned of the 4 bulletin points. Number 1, which is the stick to your ideas, despite all the challenges that are being thrown at you. And this kind of goes with being purpose-centered, in a way that if you have an idea or you have an imagination and you know in your head, I should say a visionary, someone who's who has a vision based on their idea. Now back to what I was saying. Someone who has that vision in their head, someone who's very enthusiastic and optimistic about their idea and their vision, and they see that what they want to accomplish is going to benefit a lot of people. Sticking to that while so many others are bringing you down, or so many competitors are not trying to have you in the game, in the market, shows a lot of great characteristics about the person, regarding grit, regarding being a visionary and sticking to the plan. I think those characteristics are very frowned upon in what this story is being mentioned. The other thing was overcoming obstacles put in your path by taking positive steps to break them down. Even while the battle is being fought, find ways to get around them. Now, to me, what this means is, one aspect is, are you getting to your goal at 1% every day? But another aspect that I took away from that is, even if, that 1%, even though that 1% that you're trying to achieve doesn't acquire that specific day or that specific month, specific week, it doesn't matter. Taking no for an answer, it's not viable. Meaning, like, you can't take no for an answer. The best way to put it is probably just that, being able to say, hey, I've been throwing this obstacle, but I'm going to find any possible way to overcome this, go around it, go through it, go above it, go behind it, doesn't matter. Try to find any possible way. But as long as it sticks to your original plan, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's I really like this imagination chapter based on ideas, because I've always been frowned upon on, if you have an idea, go out there and achieve it. An idea is just an idea, or a dream is just a dream if you don't take action. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.